Minority Leader Thissen, thank you very much for letting us talk to you in advance of the State of the State. Now, you've been in the legislature for 7 terms.
Right.
So you've heard your fair share of State of the State addresses. Has there been anything that's ever surprised you?
When the governor in 2013 came out strongly in favor of marriage equality, I think that no one was expecting that. That's the one that comes to mind, yeah. I mean, a lot of them I would go, I mean, when Governor Plenty did them, a lot of them were not here at the Capitol. You know, he'd travel around the state for them. And that was always interesting to do that as well. But I think that's probably the most surprising thing I've heard.
What would you like to hear from the governor when he gives his State of the State address on Thursday?
Well, I hope he talks a lot about the historic opportunity I think we have right now with our economy doing well, with a $2 billion state budget surplus. We have the chance now to do the kind of investments we haven't been able to do for those 6 other terms that I've been at the legislature. And so I hope he talks a lot about education, investment in early childhood and higher education, because that's really what the future is. I hope he continues to talk about job creation. I mean, the announcement that Anderson Windows just brought in 300 jobs using the tools that we gave them in the last 2 years, the Minnesota Investment Fund and our Job Creation Fund. That allows us to compete to keep those companies here. So I think that those are the kind of things that I hope he talks about. I hope he talks a lot about the future, because we do have a huge opportunity. I hope we don't waste it, and I hope he talks about transportation and what kind of that we need to get that done.
Well, speaking of transportation, Governor Dayton is proposing a tax package which includes a wholesale tax on gasoline and raising vehicle registration fees to help fund bridge and road repairs. House Speaker Kurt Daudt has said that a gas tax hike is off the table. What's the House DFL's position on funding transportation needs, and what would you like to hear the governor say during his address on this topic?
Well, I think the good news is that everybody's now agreed that there's a problem. And so the question now is, you know, what's the best way to solve it? What's the best way to find the money? I mean, it's easy to say we have to fix this thing. It's always hard to say, and this is how we're going to raise the money to do it. And all the options on the table have their downsides. I mean, the gas tax isn't particularly popular, and everybody gets that. And it's money that comes out of people's pockets when they, you know, have to drive to the store or to work or whatever. I mean, that's absolutely the case. You know, on the other hand, it's dedicated to roads and bridges. So the people that are paying that tax know where their money's going, and they're going to see a return on it. It's kind of like a user fee. There's downsides for both ways of raising the money, and I hope that at the end of the day we can come up with a reasonable compromise that gets it done, because frankly, if the legislature doesn't get a transportation bill done this year, it'll be a huge failure of the legislature and this legislative session.
Another topic that we can expect Governor Dayton to address and try and ramp up support is free pre-kindergarten for 4-year-olds. Some have raised concerns about the proposal, including the cost and the additional room that would be needed for these pre-kindergartners. Your caucus has backed the proposal. How do you think the governor can best promote his idea to Minnesotans?
Right, well, and the governor really does strongly believe that this is the direction we need to go. And you know, the fact is, in 2011, we did $4 million for early childhood education. And everybody was giving praise all the way around that we're finally able to get $4 million there. 2 years ago, we did $50 million for early childhood education, the first real meaningful investment we've ever made. And we need to continue on that progress. And I think that's the case that the governor needs to make, that we know that there's a return on investment from doing this. We know that we have a $2 billion surplus. We have a historic opportunity to continue this historic investment in early childhood education and really change the lives of thousands of kids around the state of Minnesota. You know what the ultimate combination of things that we have for early childhood is going to be. You know, I don't know the answer to that, and I think there are legitimate concerns about the timing of it. You know, whether there's space available following immediately upon all-day kindergarten. But there's no question that if we don't take advantage of this surplus and put part of it in a very meaningful way into early childhood education, that we will have missed a huge opportunity. And I hope that that's the case the governor makes.
Now, how does your perspective on the State of the State address change now that you're the minority leader and not the speaker?
You know, that's a good question. You know, I don't know if it changes particularly. I mean, it's always good to hear what the governor's priorities are. I guess what I would say is I hope that he comes out very strong in what he believes is the right direction for the state of Minnesota. I mean, he's clearly a governor that people trust, that people like, that people think we're headed in the right direction. He has a lot of power right now to shape public opinion and shape the future. And I hope he takes advantage of this with the state of state.
Typically, we expect the governor to succinctly address what the state of the state is. What would you say the state of the state is?
You know, I think the state of the state is strong. I mean, I think our economy is growing. We're doing very well on kind of every measure as you compare us to other states. But there's some things, some long-term things that we haven't fixed, and that's where I hope that we need, that's where we need to focus attention. Closing the achievement gap, making sure that we're protecting our water resources. I mean, if you look on what's going on in California, that's going to be a huge economic advantage to us in the future. So taking the time to think about some of those long-term challenges, making sure that all parts of the state are doing well economically. I mean, even though we're doing well generally, there are pockets of the state that aren't doing quite as well. So I would say, we're doing very well. We're doing what Minnesotans expect Minnesota to do, which is kind of be above average, as Garrison Keillor would say. But we can do even better than that, and we can make sure that everybody's sharing in that prosperity. And that is what Minnesota, I think, at its best has always been about, and that's what I hope we kind of call ourselves to do with this legislative session and on in the future.